Okay, so photograph of my grandmother that was scanned, probably not a high enough resolution. When you guys do your images, you want to make sure you have an 8x10 at a minimum 300, or something that will fit on an 8x10 sheet of paper. But just for demonstration purposes, this works okay. There are a couple of ways you can crop and straighten the picture. You can move right into the crop tool and twist the crop tool, or you can use the measurement tool, which is what I like, also known as the ruler tool. And what we do then is we just trace along the top of the image. So you click and hold and drag and trace along the top of the image, and then choose Image, Image Rotation Arbitrary. And Photoshop automatically calculates which direction and at what angle it needs to move it in order to be square. So that's a nice shortcut. Then from there you can use your crop tool. You can put in your width and your height and your resolution, or you can leave it blank. And we can just crop into the side of the picture here. If you have historical decollete edges on your picture, I would try to leave those in, because borders really tell us a little bit about what era the picture was taken in. This image doesn't have any borders, so I'm not going to do that. So the first thing you want to do is crop in and straighten the picture. You can, at this time, set your black and white point, convert to black and white. If you have a lot of, this is a monochromatic image, there are some uneven areas here that I can quickly get rid of if I convert this to black and white. And then reintroduce a tint to the image. Perhaps a tint that's closer to the original, which was a little bit more reddish or sepia-ish. Okay? And you can play around with that until you get something that's close to the original. But oftentimes converting to monochromatic can help eliminate some of the weird colorization that happens with fading. So you might want to do that first. Then you can add your retouching layer. I'll make this just a little bit bigger. Get my layers back out here. And when you add your retouching layer, make sure you add it right above the background layer so that any corrections that you do sit on top. This image requires a lot of retouching. I'm not going to do all of it right now. But what are some of your favorite tools for retouching? These are going to be your favorite tools for retouching. The healing brush tool and the clone stamp. I'm in a blank layer. I'm in current and below. I have a line checked. And you can zoom in rather closely, get a brush size using the left and the right bracket keys to control your brush size. If you add the shift key, you'll see up here that shift bracket changes the soft or harder edge of the brush, which is kind of nice. And then in a blank area, look what happens. There's nothing here. If I try to use the healing brush, it may or may not work. It actually worked okay. But the healing brush is the best because it keeps the texture in an image. When large chunks are missing, however, and there's nothing for it to sample around to find a similar texture, it doesn't work as well. So the healing brush should be the one that you try first. On the bottom here, however, if I try to use the healing brush, it doesn't work because it's trying to blend in with an area that doesn't exist. This candidate is a better candidate for the clone stamp tool. Okay? But even the clone stamp tool, I'm gonna have to use it a lot, and it's gonna get kind of mushy. So that's not really doing what I want either. If you have an image that has a pretty solid background that's really damaged, sometimes you can get away with painting the background instead. And so what I'm going to do now is make a layer called Background Paint. At some point you want to go back and spend a long time in this retouching layer working on the skin first. But let's evaluate the background. is it primarily one color? Is there a gradient of colors? It seems to go from kind of a lighter texture here, lighter color here, which you can see in the sample area, to, I'm just going to swap these, to a slightly darker value. But it is. So what happens if I just paint this whole thing with that background color, put it into